I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Design and Review Board on Monday, March 16th. Roll call.
Paul Lanza. Ron Perry.
Tony Draper.
John Carroll.
We're here.
There are no alternates present. For discussion and possible action, application number 15-06.
No, we're going to do 07 first.
What am I doing?
07 first. That's a short.
Just shorter.
We're going to do this one first?
That's number 2 will be number 1.
Oh, all right, we can do that. Is the applicant present?
Yes, she is.
Oh, okay, all right. Normally what you do is you make a motion to change the agenda. Anyway, application number 15-07 of Canton Sign Shop agent Donald M. Merzinski, owner, for sign permit for Headdress Beauty Lounge on the property located at 1348 Hop Meadow Street, Assessors Map 105, Block 439, Lot 0041, Zone B-2, received on the 16th of March. Decision must be rendered by May the 20th, 2015. Applicant?
John, I'll help you get started.
Pardon?
I'll help you get started, explain the application. It's very simple and straightforward. Existing building, there's an existing sign. What they're doing is simply moving the sign to the center of the building. The building has 40 feet of frontage, which means it has 40 square feet of sign available to it. The sign proposed has 28.75 square feet. So it's well within the parameters with regard to the size of the sign available. There are a couple questions that I had for the board, and the applicant has supplied some information, but perhaps you could start the discussion and get to those questions. Well, one had to do with the lighting. That is, the lighting, I gave you a light spec sheet that they just dropped off today. On the second page of that, there's an indication of where they would like to light the sign from. And there are a couple of alternatives. The one that's lower down, and this is definitely a sketch, has less light than the one above it. I also gave you a copy of the suggestions from our design guidelines with regard to lighting. And it talks about signage lighting, and so hopefully that will help you talk a little bit about that. The lighting that was shown on the application was below the sign. Whether the board would like to see it above the sign and shining down on the sign, or shown on the sign from below is a matter of some discussion. My understanding initially was that the applicant wouldn't really care.
Yeah, my landlord, the owner of the building, Don Muzinski, is also the electrician who will be doing the work. He owns the electric company in the lower half of the building. So he can put the lights from above, he can put them below, it doesn't matter. The sign, Joe from Canton Sign Shop, just had 2 lights there on the diagram, but after we looked at the amount, the square footage, we thought maybe more than 2 lights was necessary.
Well, you're not showing us any fixtures.
Yeah.
The only thing that
Well, we have something.
it's a diagram,
Yeah,
it's
all right.
not.
Yeah, what's shown on their sketch, John, is a downward shining gooseneck type of fixture.
Those fixtures can shine up or down, so it doesn't matter.
Well, that's shown on the sketch, this is preferable.
Okay, great. I think that was my preference as well,
Your preference is what?
is for it to be shining down as it is on the diagram.
With 5 lights across the top?
Yes.
Yeah,
We, there are two storefronts originally, and we were just in one, and we expanded to the other. So now we take up the whole front of the building, so we just wanted to have the sign.
Well, with this type of fixture, it's much easier to control the light area on the roof and the sign itself, but without a great deal of spill.
Right,
And that's what we try to,
right. Yeah, it's not lit up, it's not fluorescent, it's just glowing down onto the sign. Just a lot of the signs around us, right around us right now, are very large and very bright, and our building almost gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. So we don't want it to be bright and too large, but just so that you can see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Is there a picture of it?
Oh, that's what I was looking for. Oh, so she wants to take this, move it to the middle,
I got it. Yeah,
and then light it from above.
seems to me that shining down on it would be less obtrusive.
Yeah, I think so too.
what's the top sketch shows 5 lights, 3 in the middle and 1 each on the side, and then the bottom. That's the bottom one, man.
Got that, I don't.
Can I just look at it again?
It's just an alternate, I think it's an alternate,
It's just
proposal.
I think he felt if 5 was too many, we could alter it down to 4 and still have it lit up properly.
18 inches.
Just change, and the sign is a
That's
wooden
something
Say
sign?
with the wattage.
Yeah, it's natural wood
Where the hell you got that? I didn't know. That's why-
with, yeah,
Here?
sign.
No, this side's just fine.
The middle sign up there, how long is that? How long is the middle sign?
That's okay.
102 inches. That's wrong.
It's 8.5
Yeah, there's-
8.5 feet. And the 2 side signs are 2.5 feet each.
Well, it should, that sign should have 3 lamps.
Yeah, that's what we thought. We can also alter the wattage so that it's not
Yeah,
too bright, but we just, so that all of the lettering shows.
What's the wattage that you desired?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was just getting, like I said, my landlord is the electrician.
Gotcha.
And so I just usually defer to him on what's best.
Because, Hiram, if I'm not mistaken, our regulations don't dictate.
No, they don't.
Wattage.
They don't specify. That's why I gave you the copy of the
Right.
current regs, and I'm not sure how you want to phrase that, but not overly bright is obviously a very general term.
Yeah.
And I don't have a specific number that's good either, so I'm not sure how you want to phrase that.
well, my guess would be 75 watts maximum
Per bulb?
Sure.
for 5 lights.
Each.
Total?
Or we can I think we can
No, I'm
recommend
saying
it. right?
75.
each,
Each, yeah.
maximum.
Does it make a difference what type of bulb is used? Are we talking about LEDs or are we talking?
I mean, I don't know what kind of fixture this is, but I would imagine that this is some standard fixture. It's not, I don't think it's an LED. I mean, I guess it could be, right?
I don't,
You're not looking at
I've been
LED, are
thinking
you?
about this LED business, and what they're getting to now, with, particularly for a fixture like this one, is equivalent wattage, 60 to 75 watts. You can get them in soft white. I would find it hard to object unless they put them up and it really looks bad, but I don't see that it can. Based on what they're using them for today, interior, exterior, when they talk about the equivalent in lumens and equivalent in the colors,
Yeah,
their 13 watt equivalent is a 60 watt. 15 watts is a 75 watt.
I think the fixtures now are all pretty interchangeable because the laws are also changing and shifting over what you can,
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
And the usage, everything. The problem we have right now is we don't have anything
Yeah,
in
I
our
agree.
guidelines to
okay.
address this
wattage.
issue. I mean, we could do it experimentally. I mean, I don't think it would be fair to say, okay, go ahead if you want to use LEDs and you soft white, and you put them up, and in that location, in that lighting stretch, if you will, particularly when things are going on across the street,
Yes.
what could hurt?
Mr. Chairman, can we just make a motion to accept the 5-light scheme not to exceed 75 watts
Right,
and move on?
and move on. And
I second that.
saying, we're not telling you what kind of bulb to use,
Okay,
right?
great.
It looks better than what's there now.
Yes, thank you.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Can we move on to paragraph 1 now? Application number 15-06 of Robin Messier Associates, I'm sorry, Robert Messier Pearson Esquire, for K&K Developers Incorporated, agent, Infinity 4 LLC owners, for site plan approval on the property located at 34 Hot Meadow Street, map E18, block 117, lot 001, zone PAD, received on March the 16th. Decision must be rendered by May the 20th, 2015.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Bill Krosky from Krosky Architects, and I have with me Stephanie White from Fuss & O'Neill, and we're here to present the details of our development on Hot Meadow Street. So I think what we'll do is start off with Stephanie talking about the site details, and then I'll get into the building design.
What is different here than what we've seen before? I mean, we've seen this
Yeah,
4 or 5 times.
right. So I'll just kind of walk through kind
Okay.
of some of the differences and go through some of the thoughts on the landscape, and then we'll hand it over to Bill on architecture. What's that? Do you have the one? So yes, I'm Stephanie White. I'm a landscape architect with Fuss & O'Neill, and as you know, my colleague Chris Ferrero was here this past summer going through the master plan for this development with you for the zone change to the PAD. So tonight we're going to go through just the first phase, which is the residential component of the master plan. And kind of fundamentally, as you can see, fundamentally it's basically the same design as it was proposed last summer in the master plan. There are some slight modifications that were made based upon staff comments that when we were working through the master plan, and which are before there were a cluster of townhomes here, which was they were kind of eliminated, and in place of a 2-story apartment building. All of the townhomes now are encompassed in this area of the site. So there's kind of that gradation of the architecture in which you have the 2-story, 2.5-story townhomes, the 2-story apartment buildings up here, and then as you go down further into the, I lost it. It shows it on my hand for some reason. As you get towards the western part of the site is the 3-story. Okay, 3-story buildings. So fundamentally, what we looked at was, now the garages, the carports, they all will border the property lines and act as a structural buffer. That was also an additional adjustment that was made based upon staff comments. And then thirdly was the elimination of the dead-end parking. So kind of up at the northern corner where the townhomes are, now there's access. There's no more dead-end parking there, and it goes out to the roundabout. So fundamentally, those are were the kind of the three big layout adjustments. The number of units have stayed, and parking spaces, and the gridded road system is all intact. Further details on the community space in the clubhouse have been developed. So the clubhouse is kind of in the center of the, here we go. Sorry. In the center of the development, in which the clubhouse is kind of anchored in the corner, so that when you come in from the site, you see it drawing your eye in. And then in back of that...
Could you speak up just a little?
Oh, sorry, yeah. And then in back, there's active recreational amenities, which consists of a swimming pool with lounge area, terrace with gas grills for the residents, a tennis court, bike storage for the bikes for the residents to use and to get access to the Farmington Rail Trail, which is right in back, and also some flex lawn spaces that are encompassed on the site, which these large open flex lawns areas which allow the residents to throw a frisbee or bring the blanket out and sit out on the lawn area. And they also act as stormwater management areas. They're very shallow depressions that will act as water quality and have a high water overflow. So they kind of have a twofold function to them. And then in terms of the landscape that we're proposing is street line trees that are all native vegetation, aligning the roadways, and then the dominant kind of ground plane for the development, we're looking at kind of paying homage to its agricultural history, and that we'll propose in these agricultural field grasses throughout. So these very strong bands of field grass that are going to be coming in through along the boulevard, and then kind of cutting architectural bands of different types of grasses throughout. So kind of giving you that kind of pastoral feel. Here's this next slide. Yeah, so here's some images of what we're thinking. It's kind of giving that kind of rural feel with native grasses, the idea of, in the roundabout, planting a very signature, majestic tree, that kind of, the idea of like that wolf tree in the field, and meadows throughout. And then in terms of site furnishings, we really wanted to keep the simplicity of the site and not kind of have any kind of very ornamentation and not detract form from the views to the Hugline Tower and the kind of the riparian vegetative buffer. So we're thinking very kind of modest, understated type furnishings that have clean, simple lines. So the idea of just kind of a simple picket fence encompassing around the clubhouse pool area, that will also be harmonious with the architectural railings on the porches. And then the light fixture is kind of very simple, bell-shaped fixture with no ornamentation, thinking of with a shepherd's hook colored black. In a nutshell, that's the big changes that have come about.
Back to the
Yep.
first drawing. If I'm correct, there's two exits into the CLMP road?
Yes, there's this access in here, and then this drive access.
Okay.
Why does it keep denying them?
What about on this very western corner, down next to your logo? Is that an access there?
Currently, no. That's all kind of CLMP 8-foot
Storage.
chain link storage right now. So we're kind of in talks with the fire marshal about that. But right now we have these two access points out onto the site.
And nothing on the Avon side?
Nothing on Avon.
It looks like there's 3 there, are there?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying, like here, right, because we've got
Yeah.
the 2 here, which are the 2
There are 3, one at the top.
in the rotary, but this here, remember, this is a CLMP storage area back here.
Right.
It's gonna stay that way.
For this end of time.
Well, they're gonna vacate that.
The CLMP roadway will be accessible, or will be accessible from
Right.
that phase,
Yeah,
right?
right up to here. The fence, the CLMP fence gated areas really starts up here. So all of this is accessible
Yeah.
into the development.
Now, that's going to be a real exit, and not just a fire exit,
Correct, yeah, real exit.
so they can use it.
Yeah.
And the design of the building hasn't changed substantially?
Well, I'll hand it
Well,
over
that's next.
to Bill. And
Oh, it has.
So I'm going to talk about the buildings. Just to reiterate what Stephanie said earlier, we have changed the townhouses to these 3 buildings up on the west side of the site. This is a 5-unit building and another 5-unit building that's essentially identical to what we showed at our last meeting, and I'll go into that in a minute. And we have a smaller building, 3-unit building in between. We also have garages along, to cover the parking along both sides of the site, as Stephanie pointed out. So this is the view that would face Hob Meadow Street, and these are the townhouse buildings. This is a 5-unit building, a 3-unit building, and a 5-unit building. Actually, this is the side that was accessed by parking, so that is to the inside of the site. Just come back. Oh, no, it's to the Hob Meadow side. So that's the side, the west side. This is the building that we showed last time, a little more refined than what we showed last time. We have the addition, a 1-story addition on this end unit to create a bedroom, master bath on the first floor to provide our handicap accessibility requirements. But essentially, we're looking at the same design as you saw before. We have, I'll get into the materials in a minute, but essentially we've got vinyl clapboard siding here, corner boards, accent trim. The gables have a vinyl shingle in them. And then our paneled garage doors for the individual garages. These are...
Both building 9 and 11 have handicapped, single-story.
Correct. Both of the 5-unit buildings have that in this little 1-story
Okay.
addition, and we've designed it so that both of those 1-story elements are on the north and south end of those 2 buildings, so they are at the ends of the grouping of the townhouses. To kind of bring the scale of the building down on the ends.
How tall is that building?
Pardon me?
How tall is that building?
It's 3 stories at this corner, 2.5 at this side, so we're
25 feet?
27 to the eve line, and then another 12 to the ridge, so 39, which is the same dimension we presented last time we were talking about views.
On the plans I have here, it says 2 stories and 5 units. And you just said it was 3 stories.
Well, it's 2 stories here with a dormer, and 2 stories here with a dormer, 3 stories in this pop-up, 3 stories on the end here, and then you can see in the back kind of the same thing. It's 2 stories, then a dormer, small gable. So it's mostly 2.5 stories, 3 stories on the end, and those are the ends, if we go back to this view, the three-story elements are toward the center of the grouping, and then it steps down at the ends here to the one-story elements.
And that's looking at it from Hot Meadow Street.
Correct.
And all the concern about the ridge line is, so there is no concern?
Well, it hasn't changed since what Chris presented
A year ago.
last meeting. When he did the site section with the views and talked about the heights and the amount of view of the mountain is all the same as it was originally. Floor plans, I show you this first floor, just to show you we have patios on the back of the units. We've located our condensing units for the air conditioning in these areas, and we have a privacy fence which separates the patios from each other. Second floor, which we would be going to third floor. This is the center unit, the center building, building number 10. It's really similar to the 5-unit building, just with the larger gable taken off. And these are the 4 elevations. The one we just saw down here in the lower right that faces Hot Meadow, and then the back that faces into our site. This is the 2-story building, as we originally presented it at our last meeting. It's got stone on the lower level, clapboard siding where the darker tone is, and then that's vinyl clapboard, and this is vinyl shingles in the gables for accent. Vinyl corner boards and trim of the porches, which I'll go into in more detail in just a minute. These are the elevations for that building. The end elevations are the same, and then the front and the back are almost the same, except that the back of the building we have at-grade flush access into the lobby for handicap accessibility, and then the other side we have more of a walk-up porch condition with individual entrances. We've also shown here in this end elevation, we've shown we're building a little meter shed for the gas meters, which will have a little roof and wing walls, and then we show our condensers here at the locations where they will actually be. This is our first floor plan, and we have located the condensers around the outside of the building, on the ends as much as possible, and the gas meter sheds or enclosures at either end here. We will have a few condensing units on the long elevations, but tucked around the corner of the projecting architectural elements. Second floor. This is the 3-story building, and similarly to the 2-story building, we've got vinyl clapboard siding, architectural vinyl shingles in the gables, porches, individual entrance.
So what's changing that elevation from the last time?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's the exact same elevation we showed last time. Got a stone base. These are the CAD versions of those. Both sides are essentially the same, except one will have the ground level will come up for that flush access into the common lobby, as you saw in the 2-story building. The end elevation, we've shown a shed enclosure for the gas meters. Also shown the condensing units spaced in the actual where they're going to be located.
I'm trying to remember what, if nothing's changed on the elevations, I'm trying to remember what we talked about for sightline from Top Meadow Street over the top to Hublot. I'm trying to remember what that conversation was. If nothing's changed in the elevations,
In fact, the only thing that's changed about the plan is
Right.
the addition of one-story handicap on each end.
On the townhouse.
That's the only thing that's changed.
and the layout, modifications to the layout a little bit, like in the overall development, right?
The three townhouses, the three buildings that have the townhouses in them.
Moved from that northern side up to the,
Right, we
Right.
had, I don't have that plan with me, but,
well, you had the overall plan, right, site plan? Yeah, so you had those three townhouses over on the northern end with that circular parking spaces?
Originally, we had more townhouses. We had
4.
groupings of 5 and 4 that were in this location and also in this location. So we had more townhouses.
So overall, from last time to this time, the number of units is
Same.
the same, just reconfigured.
Correct.
And the design's the same.
The buildings are the same, except we have a 3-unit
Yeah.
townhouse now.
Yeah.
Instead of doing groupings of 4 and 5-unit buildings, I think we had a 6-unit townhouse building the first, and now we just have 2 5-unit buildings and a 3-unit building.
So I think we had some pretty lengthy discussions about sightlines to the mountain behind, right? I
And that's right.
can't recall what that was. I really don't remember that.
Why don't you, if you would, is with your pointer there, show us 2 stories, 2.5 stories, 3 stories.
So the townhouses were 2.5 stories with a little 3-story element here and here. And then 1 story on either end. And then this building, this building, this building, and this building are 2 stories. So all 4 of these are 2 stories. And then these 2 buildings and these 2 buildings are 3 stories.
All right, now, at the earlier presentations, a great deal was made of sight lines from Hot Meadow Street to the ridge. How is the 2.5 stories in the front of that property affect that sight line?
It's the same as what we presented at the last meeting. So that hasn't changed.
Pardon?
I can't remember what that conversation was.
Okay.
Chris had some cross sections through the site this way with building heights blocked in and showing from eye level over the ridge lines how much of the mountain you could see.
I thought we had retail in that area that was single story or single and a half.
That was,
Yeah,
I
that-
think that was out in this area.
Yeah.
That's what,
We don't have anything.
what are you doing?
Hiram, if nothing has changed, what are we considering here?
They're just back with as much detail as they have at this point in time to show you how it's progressed. There was some reallocation of some of the buildings. Some of the garages were realigned to the outside, the perimeter outside of the site. And then just the reorganization of the existing buildings that Bill's talking about right now. And that's basically,
And we had gone another step and started looking at the details and materials and I brought those.
yeah, we just wanted to make sure that, that at the 11th hour, somebody didn't say, gee, you never showed us that. So we want to just be clear about that.
So the heights have not changed.
They have not changed.
That was my concern as we're going through
I
this.
hear what you're saying. All right, the grassy area that's up at the top there,
Was all.
at some point is going to be developed, perhaps? Are we doing any retail one-story business?
Yes. Yeah,
It's not part of this.
It's not part of this application, but that's what the overall plan is.
So this application, as we're talking right now, is what we're looking at?
That's right,
Nothing else on the rest of the property?
that's correct.
Okay, I understand.
And CL&P is still a mystery?
As far as I know, yes.
Sorry, it's okay.
Do you have in your, in what you have to present here, any of that sightline information that we were talking about from, you know, from the street to the ridge? And you were showing the buildings and the cross-section and so on. Do you have any of that here?
I do.
But we approved that the first time through.
Yeah, I think we recommended that that was okay the last time. I was just trying to remember what it was. And that, I wanted to make sure that that elevation, those elevations hadn't deviated from that.
I reviewed that previous presentation.
I don't have it with me now.
He's saying no, and then that's fine. If that's truly the case, then that's fine.
What I suspect, when you decide to make your recommendation tonight or before the zoning commission meets here next time, you know, we could confirm that based upon what the applicant's representation is.
Myron, what are we being asked to recommend tonight? Just the update?
That's right. What they're showing this evening is the update, and they're ready to go to the zoning commission. Zoning commission won't meet tonight, but they'll meet 2 weeks from tonight. And the presentation will go to them at that time, the site plan.
So our understanding is that the building heights and that information from that presentation we did, a month or so ago, locked us into the building height in terms of the maximum. So we're adhering to that.
What will be the status of these units? They will be rental apartments, for sale,
All of these are
low
going to be,
income, I mean,
all of these are going to be rental.
10% affordable.
10% affordable, rest market rate.
Just for the record, I want to go back to my favorite subject, all right? Show me the rendering with the 5 garages.
The 5 garages, the new garages that...
You know, what's an elevation? It shows the garage
The 5
with the garage
garages.
elevations.
There you are.
That'll work.
Okay. Now, for the record, blend those garage doors in color, not white like they are. I don't want to see them. I understand, demands of the design and so on, but please don't enhance them.
So this building, first floor plan, again, we've got shown the condensing units along the outside, the gas meter enclosures at either end. Trying to hide them in the notches and elevations. In terms of materials, we're proposing a white vinyl window, either a double hung window, insulated glass, either by Anderson, Pella, or United. Our front doors are going to be an embossed steel and glass door by one of these manufacturers. Our columns are fiberglass composite columns, and we're going to have railings, composite railings, vinyl railings.
Just a comment, this is a
Yes.
technical comment, not a design comment.
Yep.
Steel doors rust.
In terms of the, so we're going to have 2-ply architectural shingles on the roof. The stone base that I showed on the 2 bigger buildings will have a brownstone appearance. It's actually colored concrete, and it's made in in stone shapes like this, and using this mountain cobble pattern. Nice thing about this material is it can go down to ground level, unlike cultured stone, which has to stay a minimum of 8 inches above grade. Then we have the vinyl lap siding, clapboard siding, in vinyl shapes that will be in the accents of the gables. Our window trim will be 4-inch vinyl trim, and we've got vinyl.
No stool under it?
This is, no, this will be a wrap. It's got the integral J.
On an old Cape Cod building, you gotta have a stool under it. Which comes in vinyl.
What does? Garage doors, as we've shown in the rendering, they're now not white, but paneled to match the front doors. We'll have a skirt board that is AZAC with a transition piece here to allow fastening of the vinyl siding at the bottom. Beadboard vented soffits. AZAC trim on the decks and areas where we can't use the prepaid vinyl shapes, but the goal being to not have any J channels shown. Lumen gutters, fairly standard. Is it?
Can you go back for a minute?
Yes.
The drip cap on top of the board over there is also vinyl?
Yes.
Okay.
So the siding notches are hooks onto this piece right here, and then this acts as flashing over the skirt board.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move application 15-06 of Robin Mester Pearson Esquire for K&K Developers, Inc., agent Infinity 4 LLC owners for site plan approval on property located at 34 Hot Meadow Street, map E18, block 117, lot 001, zone PAD, that we approve as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any other questions?
I think the only thing we amend that is to just to verify that the elevations are the same, and they're saying that it is, just as a side note, or just as a note, just to verify. And,
We'll confirm that.
you know,
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Thank you.
Hiram, what was this sheet distributed for?
That's actually the first building that we looked at, there was one with the sign on the...
okay.
And just in case it came up as to where that was located, I just wanted you to have a graphic of that.
Thank you.
Do we have any correspondence or?
I just have a couple of announcements I can give you, John. One is that, as I've talked about before, we're just starting now the revision to the zoning regulations, and that will have, again, some significant things from this group going forward with regard to signage, with regard to lighting, those kinds of things, as well as other things from the regulations, that whatever you'd like to see in there. We just had our initial meeting with Planometrics last week, and that'll be going forward. We'll probably be having a public meeting sometime the next month or so. So if you have things that you'd like to make sure that we cover, specific recommendations about things, please let us know, and we'll let you know when those meetings are going to be held as well, so you can participate to whatever extent you want to do that. So, lighting and signage are two of the things that always come up and always seems to give folks the biggest series of questions, so we're happy to try to get those straightened out and to make them as clear as possible. One of the things that I'm really sort of anxious about too is I would really like the the regulations to be as plain, as easy to understand as possible. Sorry, plain language as much as possible. Some of the regs that we have now, if you look through them, they're really quite confusing in terms of you read one section and it sounds like one way. You read something else, it sounds a different way. So we'd like to make them not only uniform, but also easier to read. So that'll be one of the things that we're really looking forward to.
You're gonna edit them?
We will.
You are.
Yes, yeah. You'll see them all before they get on the docket, certainly, that's right. So if any issues are questionable or whatever, please let us know. So that's basically it. We're hopeful. We went through the budget process with the Board of Selectmen and got budget approved by the Board of Selectmen. We're waiting for the Board of Finance to do that now as well, and hopefully we'll be able to proceed on in the near future.
Big Y's going to start when?
My understanding is that as soon as the weather allows them to start, they're supposed to start this spring. Now, I will tell you that I've been told that before, so I can't swear to it, but that's what that's.
But the whole project's
money
supposed to go forward at once.
That's correct.
2 weeks, like the money pit, right?
The property is closed, they do own it, and we're just waiting for the weather to change around a little bit. They're in the process now of going through getting the traffic light approval from DOT, which under the new streamlined process that DOT has, I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but they won't be able to open before that happens, but hopefully they'll be able to start construction and move forward and get the light in place before they open. So they would like to be open, the year that they start construction, they need to be open by October, so they need to start fairly soon.
Would you like to tell the ladies and gentlemen, what we did today and what's happening on Thursday?
Oh, John, why don't you go ahead?
All right.
Please, you're the expert with regard to the
No,
experience.
the experts are meeting at 2 miles from home. Anyway, the town has bought what we call the Hudson property, which is a little house by the old bridge. And I was fortunate in my business to do significant work on that house, including flood remediation in the lower level. And so I know the house very well. I know the structure, I know everything about it. And so we met today, Hiram and Tom Ray and Jeff Shea, the town engineer, to go through the building. And I pointed out, the good things and the bad things about the building. There's a meeting Thursday night at 6 in the library. All of the folks involved in this kind of thing have been invited to attend. I will attend, of course, and represent this board, or you're all welcome to attend as well. Basically, what we're looking at now is how are we going to use the property? There's a great deal of correspondence on this in my file, where a number of the people who are interested in the use of this property, the Recreation Department, Culture and Recreation Commission, tourism, all economic development, all of them are basically saying this should be a park, this area with the bridge, and whatever building or not is there should be a park. My feeling, having lived on the river now for nearly 40 years, is it is an ideal destination for the use of the river by kayakers, canoeists, etc. This would be an ideal destination from upstream and downstream. So as we go forward, there are lots of options we can do with that building. And I would hope that at some time in the future, that part of that building, or all of that building, is used as a river park.
Contiguous with the area across the street.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I've even thought, that, way back when we had the old bridge at Route 315, the kids would jump off the bridge into the river and swing on ropes.
Yeah,
And there was a little beach there. Well, that area could be another stop for the canoeists and the kayakers. Okay, so that, you know, you come down the river, they might even pass the park the first time and come back up and stop on the way. The commercial operation, they unload, they load the canoes and kayaks on the launch ramp on River Street, Riverside, and haul them back up to Canton. To me, it's an ideal location, it's an ideal site, and let's do it.
who's doing over the house next door?
Say again?
Who's doing over the house next door to that? They just.
Who's renovating the house next door?
Yeah, it's a,
Oh, the one in the middle
Yeah.
between,
Yeah, the one.
I don't know.
I think that's a dynamite looking house.
There's another, you know, there was a house on Riverside that was done this, that was flipped.
It's right next to.
And it might be the same guy, I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure who owns it. It's a private party, I don't know the owner's name. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a contractor doing it, I would assume, based on what I...
Yeah, there's a contractor, it's just, and there's obviously an architect involved in that.
See, the thing about this, I don't want to hold you too long, but one of the things that the consultants said on the last charrette, after they did the tour of the town, they said to us, you don't even recognize that you have a river right through the middle of your town, okay? We're not using it, we're not promoting it, we're not whatever. This is an opportunity to me to have that destination to build upon as the rest of that area gets built. So that folks can come down, get off their canoes, we can have free bikes, we can have, you can walk, of course, to the shops and restaurants and whatever that ultimately will be on our Amherst Boulevard. I mean, it's ideal to bring in other people's money.
I don't know enough about it, but what are we looking at for funding? How do we?
We don't really know yet until we figure out what we're going to do with it. I think that the meeting on Thursday is to try to gather as much information from the public in terms of what could be done there, what are people thinking about. The structure has some certain limitations because of a couple things. One is the floodplain issues with regard to the whole thing's in floodplain. But it's also been constructed, I think it's safe to say, in steps over time and on different levels, frankly. And so structurally, there's some issues that have to be addressed. But again, depending upon what people decide they want to do with the structure, then we'd have to figure out how to back into that and how much it would cost.
If somebody were to cantilever a deck out over that edge and all that stone buttressing that's there, would that require an inland wetlands problem, or would that avoid it?
There's a couple of things. One is there's a large wall that's there now, timber wall, not in great shape.
Oh, okay.
So that may have to be reconstructed, and that in and of itself would probably require not only wetlands permits, but probably DEP and maybe even Corps permits. We don't know yet. Once that issue is addressed and we figure out how, what's the town's appetite for going through that process, then I think we'll know a little bit more about just how we could construct something on that site. Some of the structures that have been built there obviously were built with regard to allowing floodwaters to flow in and out, so some of the foundation may be able to stay there. But clearly, as John knows probably better than anybody, that structure's taken a lot of water, about 4 or 5 feet of water at various times during flooding events. So there's a good chance of it that some of it's not going to survive long term.
Like I said, I don't know enough about it, and I checked. I can't make it Thursday. I wish I could, but I can't get there Thursday night.
There may be-
The western part of the building, including the garage, and then there's a foyer and a room and a closet on that level. That's all, that's where I did the major remediation work to deal with floods. Floods come in and floods drain out now. That's basically what I did. And that is all, in my judgment, it'll stay there forever if you wanted to. Okay? It's just a question of how you use it. The middle section is the part of the original canoe club, Hartford Canoe Club, back in the early 1900s. And then the eastern end is the living room and a sun porch and a dining room and so on, that kind of thing. It can be used, all of it can be used, part of it can be used, and none of it can be used in terms of the structure. Okay? So it's a matter of, understanding what's available. See, what happens there is that Stratton Brook comes right down in the backyard there. Okay? Right there. What was 15, 20 feet from the house. It's a really neat location. And we must do something good with it. I mean, it's just... Shall we adjourn?
Approve the minutes.
Thank you all again.
You don't want to approve the minutes.
Pardon? Say again?
I move that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Everybody.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you.